All right. Well, let's get started. Welcome to Powering Digital First MGAs with Cloud Core. On behalf of Exavalue and Guidewire, I'd like to welcome everybody. We've got some great guests lined up this morning, and we'll let them introduce themselves. Just first, a little bit about our webinar today. We'll be talking about how MGAs can streamline their business operations, increase underwriting efficiency and accuracy, drive sales and loyalty across customers and agents, accelerate growth, and identify key considerations that can help drive success in transformation. I'd like to introduce our guests. I think we've got a great conversation set up for today. Turn it over to you, Kevin, give you a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk on this panel today. Very excited about it. I'm Kevin Stein, CEO, co-founder of Delos Insurance. My background is also technology of some sort. My background's aerospace. So I'm an aerospace engineer, I suppose, at this point, and had my career in satellites and satellite imagery before making my way into the insurance industry in 2017 when I started Delos Insurance.
Thanks. Mike.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. I'm excited to be here. As the slide says, my name is Mike Wincherly. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for core applications at Guidewire Software. And my particular focus, and we'll get more into this later, is on the InsuranceNow offering. My background is, unlike Kevin, not nearly as exciting. I've been in the insurance industry my entire career. I started fresh out of college at a mutual insurer. Then I moved into the independent brokerage space for a while, and I've been in technology for about the last decade. So really excited to be here to talk about MGAs and learn more about, how we can help maybe support the continued and exciting growth in the MGA space. So thanks for letting me be here, Brian.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And I'm Brian Schween. I'll be your host today. I lead growth markets for Exavalue. We're a Guidewire partner. We are dedicated to insurance, and we provide consulting services, strategy and advisory, and even some products in that space. My background is, like Mike, my entire career has been in insurance, about 15 years of technology and architecture, and the last 10 managing transformations for various companies, insurance, in specialty lines and a little bit in personal lines. So great. So our agenda today, we wanted to define really what we meant by digital first MGA. And I think that, there's a wide variety of sophistication levels or maturity levels across insurance organizations, be it small carriers or MGAs, brokers, and their adoption of technology. And so what we're talking about today is these companies, a lot of them have realized that, strategy is really tied at the hip with technology plans, and that investing in technology to drive growth, to drive product sophistication, better risk management is really key to their success. And so we, Guidewire and Exavalue, both invest quite a bit in R&D and developing products and new services in that space. And Kevin represents a perfect example of a company that's really leading the charge about advanced technology. And so I think that's kind of the basis or starting point for that. Kevin, I think you had some thoughts about digital first MGAs as well.
Yeah. So I think a lot of folks the industry's changing. The world is changing, obviously, to be a lot more digital first. Any of us that have children that are growing up know that they understand technology in a way that we never will. But digital first, I think a lot, in the years past, were often thought of as groups who believed that technology was their entire differentiator. That was their IP. Their take on the market was their way of winning over other competitors, was the fact that they were based on technology and they had the best technology. And I don't see that as the way to think about this sort of technological infrastructure, because really what we're talking about is infrastructure that is support for the strategy of your company. And therefore, every group has to have infrastructure in terms of your way to contact clients, your point of sale, your databasing, your record keeping, everything like that. And any group that has that portion based on technology is digital first in my mind, and can really benefit from that technological infrastructure working as seamlessly as possible.
Well, that's great. Great addition to that. Mike, is there anything like comes to mind first for you and for Guidewire with respect to digital first MGAs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of want to take a step back from that, is that what we've experienced a lot of times with MGAs is that when they start out, they're pre-revenue, they're pre-growth. And so they're looking to they have to make a choice. They want something that works now, or they want something that's going to work for them where they get to where they want to be in the future. So I've seen a lot of times where MGAs will start out with a simple CRM, a simple billing system, a simple accounting system, a simple policy and underwriting platform. And when all said is done, they've got 6 different systems that they're running their MGA with, and it's not efficient when they're having to manually re-enter data multiple times or train their staff on multiple different systems. And as they start experiencing the growth that they anticipate that they're going to have, they get to this point where they realize that they can't operate 6 separate systems to manage what they have. So if they had maybe had the foresight when they thought about, okay, we want to we're going to grow our revenue 10 X in the next number of years, meaning this is where we're going to be in the future, we need a system that's going to meet us where we're going to be, not where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I can add on to that, Mike. Yeah, so the experience of sort of starting a company, right? From especially for a lot of these MGAs, they're underwriting experts, or technology experts, or whatever it may be, and they're coming in with a different view, and they're oftentimes coming from outside the industry. And when coming from outside the industry, raising money tends to be a bit more difficult. So when these groups are starting, they're kind of looking at, okay, how much money do I have in the bank? And do I want to spend 10% of that, 50% of that, 100% of that, or 200% of that on, the infrastructure I need or the technology I need to be able to get myself to the next level? What is that strategy? And I think that there's been a lot of progress, oftentimes to kind of look at, okay, this is what I can afford, so that's what I have to go with. And cost in year 5 is a made up thing, right? It doesn't really make any difference to me here when I look at, do I run out of money in August or not? And I think there's been a lot of progress in the industry with InsuranceNow, Guidewire InsuranceNow, with some system integrators. XValue has been very supportive. For us, we are XValue clients, of being able to sort of rethink that pricing strategy, where it is, more based on sort of what you can afford as time goes along, and has a curve that ultimate cost ends up being, cheaper than other competitors, but still is able to bank for the future, sort of make an investment with the MGA as they're starting out. And that's been hugely enabling for groups to be able to start working with some of the more higher reputation, sort of more reliable, if you will, types of corporate software and policy administration system groups.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's a great point. And you brought up another really good point that I think is worth highlighting here too, about both being a digital first MGA and selecting the right systems. As you talked about how MGAs are underwriting experts, and that's a primarily reason why a lot of them exist, is because they know whatever peril they're underwriting better than the carriers they're writing on behalf of or anyone else. So I think it's really critical when selecting core systems or selecting technology that it helps you access that data that you need to be the underwriting experts that you are, and can also help share that data with the carriers you're, affiliated with. So I think taking that lens when viewing how to become a digital first agency is making sure you can access that critical data that you need to do their jobs most effectively.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Being able to have the support that you need to execute on your strategy is really the key. And being underwriting experts, that's incredibly important. I will, at risk of dwelling on this question for a bit too long, one addition to what you're talking about, Mike, is the fact that because these MGAs are experts in oftentimes in specific underwriting aspects, the approach that we took at Delos was very much take that differentiation, that expertise, and make sure that's the reason why we're able to execute on our strategy. In other words, take everything else that we're not experts at and find a group that is an expert at that. One great example is claims. It would be the biggest pity in the world if what we believe we are the world's leading wildfire underwriting experts, if somehow we fumble some claims handling and therefore go out of business because of it, right? But also technology infrastructure is another one, right? We want to be able to hand that off to somebody that's built very specifically insurance policy administration systems that can support the ability to access your data, the ability to operate in a straight through processing way and digital first way, and not try to go under a giant effort to build our own system. It would be the biggest pity in the world if we tried to build a policy admin system and our whole company went down, even though our wildfire models were truly best in the industry.
Yeah, I think that's another great point. And also, yeah, I think it brings up another thing about that connectivity and APIs forward, things like that. Because yeah, there are technology companies out there who are experts in payments and billing. And I'm not saying Delos isn't or is not, but if why rewrite the book if there's a company out there that you can simply integrate with to do those things that they're experts at, I think is also important when evaluating a system.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes, companies get a little bit tied up in developing, like you said, Kevin, their own systems and things. And it kind of takes the focus off the core competency, which is better products, better risk mitigation, more efficient operations, right? And so if what I've found, at least in dealing with customers and being a customer actually for a long part of my career, finding a partner that can reduce the complexity of that, right? And kind of help you find those solutions that work best for you while growing with you, right? And maybe reducing the number of points of contact that you have to manage all that, right? So I think, as we all know, there's like so many aspects of technology, and you can have a dozen or more partners providing that, or you can kind of partner with somebody who understands your business a little bit better, has a little bit more experience in insurance, and maybe reduce the complexity of that by, bringing it together for you as an offering. So
It's right. Yeah, it's very much, lean startup methodology. Us engineers are well known for letting perfect be the enemy of the good. And you really have to lean into lean startup methodology, MVPs, sort of radical product market fit learnings, as opposed to making a really great piece of technology and then 2 years later seeing if anybody wants to buy it.
Yep. Great. Hey, Mike, I was thinking you were going to bring us into some key market trends. We had a discussion earlier about that. You maybe share some of those with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key market trends, then I think what's so exciting about the MGA space is just the success. I mean, obviously, Kevin, you can speak to that specifically, but like just the overall success and growth that the market's experienced over the last 5 years. Having been, like, as I mentioned, a student of the insurance industry, a lot of the insurance industry has remained unchanged for hundreds of years, but MGAs are something that are relatively new to the scene, which I think is really exciting to see something new in the market. And, just I have some kind of following the industry trends, and there's some facts and figures I think are really compelling. I mean, the US MGA market stands at over 100 billion in premium and has experienced double-digit growth over the last several years. In 2023 alone, the market grew by 13% and outpaced traditional P&C insurers by 3%. So not only are they growing fast, they're growing faster than the traditional insurers. A recent study reported that in the next couple of years, honestly, there will be over 100 MGAs in the US alone. And I think the market is also, I think that market is reaching a certain level of maturity because we're seeing some of those more established MGAs going public through IPOs, being acquired by huge PE investment firms, which I think validates the market fit that they have and the strategy that they've had. And, like MGAs have been really great in bringing like unique products to the market. Like cyber insurance wasn't even a thing a few years ago. Traditional insurers have tried to do it, and they got overexposed because they didn't realize like the frequency and severity of cyber events was going to increase so rapidly. But that market has grown 32% in the last 5 years. So I think it's an exciting time, to be in the MGA space, working with MGAs, watching them grow, watching them bring, exciting new products and, market fit into this industry and helping support, I always say MGAs, a lot of times they fill the gaps that traditional insurers can't or not, maybe necessarily don't want to. They don't have the capacity or the expertise to underwrite certain perils in certain areas. And that's where MGAs can step in and really serve the market and, serve policyholders who are not getting what they need from the, traditional insurer. So I think that's one trend that I have noticed is just the extreme growth and success of MGAs over the last several years, maybe going back 10 years even.
Yeah, and I think their appetite for solutions and capabilities that are at a whole different level has been really fascinating to watch, right? Because I think insurance, 20 years ago was kind of this, especially admitted lines is in this slow moving process, right? And today's E&S market is, fast and furious. If you don't have the latest, greatest geospatial data or customer communications technology or ability to serve your customer where they're at, I mean, you're behind the curve.
Yeah, and I think the way I think about it is there's two coincidental trends happening sort of in the world at large. The world's getting more complicated, right? We've had clearly a pandemic, a rise of catastrophes, lots of social inflation. Cyber in itself is more complicated, just sort of a global economy, uncertainty as it relates to wars and, the, economic trade policy, a lot of different stuff domestically as well. The world's getting more complicated. Simultaneously, there's that world's getting more complicated means things are harder to underwrite, right? The simultaneous trend that we're seeing is a rise in availability of data collection, data analysis tools, strategies, algorithms, things like that. So those two things sort of combine for the ability to have a much more effective solution for each specific type of peril. If you look at the rise in availability of data, how are different types of economies using that, different industries? Well, you just look at marketing, targeted marketing. All of us get spammed constantly. If you buy a couch for the next 3 months, people will try to get you to buy 10 million more couches, even though you already bought a couch. But the point is, they're using data in marketing to be able to understand how to use marketing dollars more effectively. In a certain amount of budget, how much return are you getting on that investment? Well, using data to be able to target more likely customers means that you can have a larger ROI. Very similar corollary in the insurance industry is that if you're able to understand your data to figure out a very specific type of peril, then you can have underwriting alpha. You can have increased accuracy in your underwriting algorithm, which enables you not only to have a better loss ratio, but be able to compete better for the consumers, the risks that you believe are profitable, and therefore you can get them on your book. The sort of demographic, Mike, that you were talking about what works really well for an MGA is also sort of critical, right? It's that underwriting expert that I think we've sorted out through the last 7 years or so. What is the right fit for an MGA? And I certainly believe it is groups that have lots of area expertise, right? They're specialist perils or generalist perils. The generalist perils are perils that work very well for large insurance companies that specialize in risk diversification, risk transfer. They're able to use sound actuarial methodology to be able to understand the losses over time, right? Can you use years of loss history as your way of predicting losses of the next year? MGAs that try to set up to resolve that problem that's already solved didn't necessarily work out as well as people would have hoped, as they would have hoped. But groups that really focus on specialty perils have really succeeded. And the key there, the difference there, are perils that are changing very quickly, that require high levels of area expertise, that require specialty data that you can collect specifically if you are focused on that peril. Cyber is a great example, right? It showed up on the scene. Generalist carriers started doing it. pretty quickly. They realized, hey, I can't keep on top of the constant war between hackers and security personnel. It's changing on a weekly basis. And therefore they, cut it out of, excluded it from general liability, made its own separate line, and a lot of specialty MGAs with underwriting expertise, a focus on that peril, and lots of specialty data showed up to be able to handle that quite effectively. That data, right? There's some groups out there that are implementing software on their clients' computers to be able to gather information about specifically what types of threats and hacks and things like that, attacks they're seeing, which allows the insurance company or the MGA to be able to constantly understand what their underwriting and pricing subsegmentation should look like. And that sort of free-flowing data and sort of underwriting expertise implemented on that data is absolutely critical to being able to be successful within that sort of dynamic peril environment. I very much think that the world is going to continue to be complicated, potentially get more complicated, and data will become even more available, which means that I think that there's going to be more and more different types of groups that can sort of set up to focus on solving very specific types of problems.
Yeah, it's kind of a granularity and precision issue, right? Just like with technology, how monolith systems have kind of evolved into microservices and APIs, so has the kind of product analysis and underwriting and risk management is breaking out these kind of segments of products into their own, industry component. So that's a great
the MGA is the right structure for it, right? Because as a generalist carrier, you never want to be too deep in one peril. Or then you're killing your diversification. But as an MGA, you can work with multiple balance sheets, multiple insurers behind you, so that you can stay focused on one peril, have high levels of market penetration, and not overexpose any one balance sheet.
Yeah, agreed. That's a great segue to maybe we could hear a little bit about the Delos story. Would love to kind of hear your summary or thoughts on that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, starts with huge success, considering I was in the aerospace industry. But like every aerospace engineer dreamed of selling insurance. So I can gladly say I've made it. My colleagues that are designing spacecraft, those idiots, are still lost trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. But no, I honestly, it's been a wild ride. It's been really fun. I mentioned I came from the aerospace industry. So did my co-founder, Shannon McIntyre. Her and I recognized an opportunity in 2017 to model wildfire more accurately using satellite imagery. Right when we started, we met and partnered with an environmental think tank. That think tank is made up of over 100 wildfire science academics. They're some of the world leads in wildfire science itself. They make a lot of the civil government models. So they work for CAL FIRE, the firefighting department in California, the Public Utilities Commission. They work for the U.S. Forestry Service. They've been one of the go-to groups for 25 years for these different civil government agencies. They actually get paid tens of millions of dollars a year from these different government agencies to make their models. We were able to form a relationship with them where we get all of their proprietary research for free. So not only do we have some of the top minds in the field working on our modeling, with a significant economic advantage, because nobody has space in their balance sheet or in their combined ratio for tens of millions of dollars per year spent on wildfire research. So we took all of this proprietary data, we created a unique algorithm internal to Delos that we believe is the best algorithm for predicting wildfire. You combine those two things, proprietary research plus algorithm, that outputs our fire risk map that back since 2017 has been, in our minds, in our analysis, in our carrier partners analysis, head and shoulders above the rest of the industry. One great piece of validation is the LA fires that happened in January. So by that time, we had built the MGA to a point where we were about 75 million in gross written premium, about 25,000 properties insured across California. And in the LA fire event, we had 0 wildfire losses. And that's because we saw every single square foot that burned as high risk to wildfire. And there's very specific climactic events. This is actually one of the most clearly climate-driven wildfire events. The Eaton fire had some invasive species aspects that had a really big impact as well. But there's, this sort of thing wouldn't have happened in the climate in the 90s. It wouldn't have been possible for this type of event to happen. Anyway, we get to the point where Delos itself performed extraordinarily well. We had plenty of properties in and around that area. So we had some smoke and loss of use, but it in total was about 200,000 in claims on a $75 million book. We since then have been sort of really gotten the validation in the eyes of reinsurers that they were looking to see on our portfolio. We've heard our story about how our methodology is superior in our eyes as opposed to in comparison to other models in the industry. And folks really seem to agree, but not being wildfire experts, they can't just underwrite purely on methodology. They wanted to see the actual results themselves. And so this has provided the validation that we were looking for. Obviously, the event was an absolute tragedy in itself, but we're here specifically looking to solve the problem because we thought wildfires would get worse. We thought the industry was not prepared to understand climate-driven wildfires, and we believe we were. So therefore, we're here to be able to sort of fill that gap, underwrite more effectively during this era of the wildfire peril. And moving forward, we are expanding our capacity and our lines of business pretty rapidly here into the rest of 2025.
Right. No, it's a great story. I think it's really representative of this idea that more granularity and more precision around all aspects of the business lead to better performance, and kind of this kind of spin out of sub-industry aspects, if you will, where people really specialize in a niche and do it really well. And that provides a better service all around, even, especially to the customer, because they get the right rate and the right insurance for their risk. So
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I think so. Wanted to also touch base a little bit on what Guidewire is up to with InsuranceNow. And so Mike, thought maybe you could provide a kind of a overview of what's going on in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it. Thanks, Brian. So yeah, again, I'm for support the InsuranceNow product, which I'm going to quote Brian. This is not my quote, but that is the best kept secret in the insurance industry because it's his words, not mine, I swear, is that a lot of people associate Guidewire with Insurance Suite, which is Policy Center, Billing Center, and Claim Center, which are great products that support carriers fantastically. But InsuranceNow is a purpose-built core platform designed for regional insurers and now more focus on MGAs. In fact, if you'd asked this a couple of years ago, there was only a handful of MGA customers now that were part of the InsuranceNow customer base. That number has grown to up to 20%, and it's because MGAs are learning more about InsuranceNow, what it can do for them. And what InsuranceNow is, it's an all-in-one core platform that supports billing, policy, underwriting, distribution, all in one. So it's a one-stop shop for everything that an MGA would need in one system. And so MGAs are learning that this is a great platform for them. So we've been kind of working more to develop the product to better support the MGAs. To Kevin's point earlier, some MGAs, most MGAs, many MGAs don't support claims handling, or they've realized that the carriers they work with are better than that. So InsuranceNow has been working to support integration with third-party claim systems. So you don't have to run claims on InsuranceNow. You can send those back to the third-party claim system for the carriers that you work with. So that's just another area of the product that we've been working on to realize, okay, we've heard MGAs aren't handling claims, so that we need to be able to support that. Other really great areas that InsuranceNow supports are, as I mentioned, distribution. And then another key one, again, this is to Brian's point earlier, I was going to touch on, is product development, because MGAs need to be agile when they're making product changes to their existing offerings. And as you mentioned, E&S lines. And so with using InsuranceNow, they're not subject to DOI approval, so they can make those changes really quickly. InsuranceNow also is really great at helping MGAs develop new products quickly and efficiently. They can accelerate time to market because InsuranceNow features an offering called InsuranceNow Go, which are prepackaged implementations and low-code product configurations. So they don't need a large IT team or project. So with InsuranceNow, MGAs can roll out new products in weeks instead of months. And then another area that I wanted to, two other areas I wanted to highlight that I wanted to give it some time back to you, Brian, is MGAs also need a system for distribution that can help them connect with their distribution partners. So they need to be able to empower their broker agent network with self-service capabilities and provide reliable data to their carrier partners. And InsuranceNow is great to support distribution and help deliver modern digital experience with like a configurable agent access and modern APIs for distribution partners. And another key area that is, I think, is important to note, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, is just the InsuranceNow has the benefit of being part of Guidewire in terms of all the R&D research and development, the ecosystem, and the marketplace, which is the largest marketplace for P&C insurance. So to the earlier point about being able to, tap into others who are excelling in areas for accounting and things like that, InsuranceNow offers pre-built integrations with tons of other partners that you can tap into and build those integrations to leverage what they're the experts at. So there's plenty more I can say about it, but I know I want to give back some time. So I just wanted to obviously appreciate the plug here from both of you about InsuranceNow. So back to you, Brian.
No, I think that was great. Thanks, Mike. And thanks for calling me out on that quote. I'll probably be in trouble for that. But anyway, yeah, and a quick, thought I'd give just a quick intro to Exavalue, who are, we are a Guidewire partner. We help clients with both Suite and InsuranceNow. We have a large InsuranceNow practice. That's our bread and butter. And we provide strategy and advisory services, delivery in the form of technology. So think about core system implementation, integration, and digital data analytics. And then we also build products and solutions, so complementary products and solutions for InsuranceNow and other platforms, like a digital portal for agents and customers. We have a offering for InsuranceNow called Xassure One, which is kind of combining products, solutions, and the complementary products that we provide all in one box for MGAs and smaller carriers, which gives them kind of speed to market, predictability, and cost effectiveness. And I think Delos is one of our customers, and we've had a pretty good experience. Kevin, maybe you can just talk a little bit about how that went.
Yeah. For everybody wondering why I'm on this webinar, I am Delos uses Exavalue as their system integrator, and we are on InsuranceNow. It is look, starting a company stuff. Nobody understands the grind other than other founders, and I think it's interesting. One of my favorite things is to watch investors become founders and go, "Oh, this is way harder than I thought." But you got to make calls that are sort of mission critical on an absolutely regular basis, and so those trades are difficult. They're weighty to yourself, right, in terms of trying to make the right decision. We went with InsuranceNow and Exavalue, and I got to say there's two real aspects that I want to highlight. First of all, the experience has been wonderful. It's worked out really, really well. And obviously every integration is different. Every type of line of business and product is different. We were able to, they quoted us a time frame and a cost, and it came in almost exactly on that time frame and cost. We have looked at others and know other MGAs that worked with some other groups and some other admin systems, and the tail just dragged on to actually get to completion. That's not something that we ever had to worry about. So basically we're looking at, can we figure out a way to get something up and going, MVP, and then build on after that. We were quoted 4 to 6 months, and we hit basically exactly that. MVP was a little bit after 4 months, but sort of 5 months, and then it was finished up on the back end in a way that worked perfectly for us being able to get in the market and get that understanding of product market fit, make sure that we were able to present to new investors the fact that our thesis was true and validated by early sales, and then sort of build from there. And ever since then, now it's a couple of years past that, continued development has worked out exactly as planned. Every single time, every single new development, new patch, new build, new addition comes in exactly on budget and exactly as planned in terms of time frame. And I can kind of set and forget. I was thinking before coming on the panel, what am I going to say? Because I don't know that much about what Exavalue and I now do for Delos at this point, which it's such a luxury to be in the position where it's so reliable that it's a bit of a set and forget. And it's not totally true, obviously, as the CEO founder, I'm involved in all of that stuff, but it's the area of the company where I don't have to stress about at all. So it's been, in my mind, a really huge success.
Great. No, thanks for that. And I think that's the goal, is to let our business folks focus on their business, right? Not on their supporting technology. So kudos to Guidewire for that platform.
We had a question come in that was addressed to me. I just wanted to
Oh, great. Sure.
it really matters. So, Mike, you mentioned InsuranceNow was designed for regional insurers and MGAs. Can you clarify whether InsuranceNow can handle national programs as well, which can be a common approach for MGAs and certain E&S lines? And the answer is 100% yes. The platform was designed specifically for those areas, but we have lots of customers who write across the country in multiple states. So it's designed to be a more streamlined system with quicker implementations and more out of the box, but it absolutely can support any type of national program. 100%. Thank you very much for that question.
Right. And I think we have several customers of ours that are scaling large scale operations on InsuranceNow. Companies like Nationwide, Brown & Brown, Delos growing rapidly, multiple others in the MGA space, and small to mid-sized carriers. So wanted to take just a second to summarize. Thank you. And thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate the insights. Mike, it was great hearing about the latest, greatest on InsuranceNow and where it applies, and kind of how people should think about that platform. Kevin, great story about your company. I think it's fascinating to watch how your team has kind of reinvented the way risks are looked at in the homeowners industry, and it's been fun watching your growth. And our team has been really excited to work with your team, doing a little bit more advanced things on the systems implementation to meet your needs. So appreciate both of your time. Thank you to all our guests, all our attendees who joined. I think we have a couple minutes left. Maybe we can field a couple questions here too.
Sure, I can read. Here, I got them. As a startup MGA, what do you think are the most important things to consider when evaluating technology? I think I covered that a little bit earlier, but I'll leave room for the others to respond. I think it's just, again, to Kevin's point, sometimes you don't have enough money to buy the system you need right now, but I think it's just important when you're evaluating, like, how long will this platform serve me as I meet the growth expectations that I have? And does it offer like the ability to access the data that really helps us accelerate what we do best? I think are really key when evaluating technology, but there's a lot that goes through. And also I think another talking about InsuranceNow is that, and you both spoke about, is that will this be delivered on time and will this be delivered on budget is also something that I think you need to make sure when you're evaluating it.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to forget about the long term when you're in that position. And it's if you don't have the money in the bank, it's not even a question, right? I had a situation a long time ago, really, people I absolutely adored, they put on this conference, they did a ton for me. And then they came to me and asked me to put in a sponsorship. The sponsorships are struggling during COVID. And their sponsorship cost was 2/3 of my bank. And I was like, really sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I can't. I simply can't. And so, those situations happen, but the ability to rely on the fact that you will actually have a system that you can start growing on is when you get there, man, that is absolutely critical. So yeah, I mean, cost, obviously upfront cost, but then also reliability of time frame and long-term budget is also really important.
Yeah, and I think for sure there's a target market for this, right? That's a little bit bigger MGA, not necessarily a mom and pop shop that's really, a smaller premium. And I think avoiding a replatforming exercise in the middle of your growth curve 2 to 3 years in, as you know, you're opening new lines, new states, new, you know, distribution channels. It's something to think about, right? If you have a solid growth plan, better to get the problem solved out of the gate and have a solid foundation to build on than have to reevaluate kind of platform at that point. So.
All right, and I see. I know we're getting close to time, so there's a couple other questions we might have to follow up outside of this, but there was just a general question. I don't know if I can answer this, but maybe you can, Brian. If we're interested in learning more about Delos, Exavalue, or InsuranceNow, will there be a follow-up from this webinar that'll have links to our websites or anything like that? I assume the answer is yes.
Absolutely, yes. So we will we'll send out a kind of a summary wrap and a links for contacting us for any questions you have. We're happy to have a chat about, you know, your situation and the different solutions that both Guidewire and Exavalue offer. So
That's great.
well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll call that a close. We have about a minute left. We'll give you back all that spare time. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you guys joining us, Mike and Kevin. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks.
Talk to you.